Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the West Ham Massive. Charlie and I are going to have a little conversation about, well, the elephant in the room, which is obviously a certain programme that has just aired on the BBC. And we're going to be very careful, obviously, about how we're going to broach this subject. But I think it would be remiss of us not to have a conversation about it, Charlie. How are you anyway? How's things with you? All good?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Apart from just being deafened by your intro, I think that's very loud on the earphones end.
Sorry. Sorry about that.
But apart from that, all good, all good. I just got back from Spain for a week for a golf holiday, so wishing I was still out there now, to be honest. But hey ho, life goes on. Back to work.
Absolutely. Yeah, tell me.
How you doing?
No,
right?
yeah, not bad. I've just had a. Do you know? It's funny because the week before last I had off, and I've only just caught up with all the emails. It's ridiculous, honestly. I need a PA, but I ain't got one, so it's like it's all on me.
A wife?
Yeah, no, she ain't interested. She ain't interested. So
can't talk to her anyway after Tottenham relegated us.
Yeah, it has been tricky. Mind you, it's her 50th birthday coming up. So, yeah. Anyway, for those of you that are in the chat, please feel free to get stuck in, but just be a little bit mindful that we need to tread a little bit carefully. So, allegedly, and all that stuff, you can probably work out the rest. So, anyway, Charlie, Panorama, BBC. Obviously a lot of, and they are allegations. We need to make that point. We need to bear it in mind. This is not a court. None of this is subject to legal scrutiny as things stand at the moment. And as I say, I'm mindful that we need to be careful how we phrase things. So ladies and gentlemen in the chat, please bear with us. You know, we need to be, we're trying to tread a bit of a thin line here, but those allegations were quite hard hitting. Those allegations were, and even if that wasn't connected with our now former major shareholder and it was just someone else that we were less familiar with, it's that those allegations are pretty stark. And if even a shred of that is true, and I've read the article. I don't, because I send you a link, didn't I? There was an article on the BBC website, where there were actual quotations that were made by Sullivan in the past about, well, what's the point of having a sweet shop if you can't eat a few sweets, alluding to sort of certain things that he might have been getting up to, and just I don't know what to say, Charlie.
Yeah, I think you're right. They were stark. They are obviously horrible to listen to and damning in a sense. I think a lot of West Ham fans will be like, well, I'm not that surprised because we, as West Ham fans on social media, they're not, I think the large majority of what was in that show tonight are not going to be revelations to a big proportion of the West Ham fan base, especially that fan base that is on social media. I think it'll be surprising, shocking, and everything you mentioned to the wider audience and the audience that have not had a vested interest, so to speak, in David Sullivan over the last, whatever it's been, 16 years. But I feel like, personally, I've known, and I think we've spoken about it before between ourselves, most of those allegations for a couple of years, I would say. Certainly over a year.
No, there's been lots of whispers for quite some considerable time, hasn't there? Let's be fair.
But to see it exposed and given mainstream media attention that it deserves, I think that will, it doesn't make it any less shocking when you hear it, when you sort of expect it, but very damning. What happens next in the wider scheme of things, who it's hard to predict. Probably, possibly not a lot. Ultimately, you got to think about the women that have had to go through all these things and come forward, and fair play to them. Finally getting
allegedly.
Yep. As you said, finally being their allegations finally being heard. And then first and foremost, you think about that. But from a West Ham perspective, I can't pretend I'm not over the moon. It's led to the demise of David Sullivan at West Ham, and hopefully round the corner he won't be our largest shareholder. So yeah, shocking nonetheless, but not necessarily revelations in that sense of the word.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, and a few people in the chat, and evening, Tony and Lee and Leslie. Hope you're all well. As I say, I've read certain articles that the BBC have put on their news website, and to be honest with you, mate, I think that what Panorama put out compared to the articles that I've seen on the BBC's own website made that look like Beatrix Potter, if I'm being completely honest, by comparison. What I read was much more graphic in terms of the allegations, and again, they are allegations. But I do wonder whether there was maybe certain bits and pieces that, due to pressure from elsewhere, might have been left on the cutting room floor, so to speak.
Yeah,
I don't know.
absolutely. I mean, there's surely going to be, whether it's further allegations or what. I mean, there's surely going to be some hard edits where the BBC have taken the sort of creative discretion to say, we can't say that. That will get us up in civil court for a case of libel. They've obviously, you could tell when I was texting one of the group chats that I'm in as it was going on, and there was specific wording and sayings that you picked up on. I'm sure everyone picked up on, where they was being very careful, and it was. I think it was right near the start. I think there was talking about how one of the alleged victims had reported it to the police, and the BBC narrator, commentator, whatever, sort of turned around and told the police what she said had happened to her rather than what had happened to her. There was very careful wording in that. They know, obviously, Mr. Sullivan's not scared of a court case and suing people, so they knew that to be careful, and I think that's very clear they have been. I think I certainly saw one tweet earlier from a very informed person in the West Ham social media space who's been talking about this for months and months and months, possibly years, and they were sort of alluding to the fact that there was going to be a part of the documentary that spoke about Sullivan investing into his missus or another, I'm not sure, care home for vulnerable girls, vulnerable children. And that obviously never made it into the documentary. So obviously I have no evidence to say it was there, but this guy's been right about a lot of things. That's possibly been something that's been cut for one reason or another, whether that's they don't want to catch a case, or maybe there's something going on that they don't want to sort of prejudice or interrupt or get in the way of. I don't know. But yeah, there's going to be a large... I imagine there's more of that documentary that we haven't seen than what we have seen tonight.
Yeah. I mean, Leslie just makes the point, and look, again, these are allegations against our now former chairman. But just to sort of like separate off from that, but sort of kind of aligned with this situation, is the Savile case needed TV coverage, and then it all kicked off from there. Now, that doesn't mean that these allegations are correct, factual, or any of those things. And David Sullivan will refute them and does, and that's fine. But there was obviously a lot of leverage that was put behind the sort of like the movement towards Savile and the revelations that came. And the thing is, unfortunately, the people that were in that particular case, the ones on the receiving end of the treatment, shall we say, they never got to see justice served because unfortunately he died before it all came out. And unfortunately what happened is that sort of like once it all came out, it then became apparent that fucking everybody knew that he was up to all sorts of no good. I mean, he basically had the keys to Stoke Mandeville Hospital to come and go as he pleased. And it was like, oh, you know, good old Jimmy, he runs the marathon, he does so much for charity and all that shit. And then you found out after he died that he'd been up to all sorts of nonsense sort of thing. Now, doesn't mean to say that it doesn't mean to say that this is the same. I don't know, but I'm just making the point that sometimes you can have someone that you go, no, it's not what it all seems. It's a load of old stuff and nonsense. It's a load of old bollocks. And then it all comes out and you realize and then when you sort of step back and join the dots. And the one thing I will say, and this I can say, because I know that factually this happened, because I remember this happening, because I said to you, I remember this, and I'm sure it's probably happened more than once. The Daily Sport, Sunday Sport, call it what you want. I remember them having a young lady, and I think her name was Natalie Bannis. I think that's her name. I'm sure it was Natalie Bannis. And I remember she was 15 years of age, and they couldn't at that point photograph her in the Sport topless, and they were counting down the days until she turned 16, at which point she could basically get her tits out on page 3, right? Now, at the time, now bear in mind, she's a couple of years older than me, right? I'm 50. I think she's sort of like early mid 50s now, right? I'm like sort of like 12 years of age. I'm in the school. I'm sorry to be graphic about it, but you know, young boys looking at a bird on page 3 with a big pair of tits. It was, you know. But now you sort of like, as a 50-year-old man, a father and a family man and all the things, I'm no longer that 12-year-old sort of like preteen, sort of like dosed up with testosterone and all that. I now sort of look back and go, fuck me, they were sexualizing what was a child.
Yeah. I mean, I said it to you when we were speaking earlier that, like, coming from my lower vintage, lesser vintage, and being of the more modern generation, I think I look back at that and think, how was that ever even a thing? But then you do, don't you? There's lots of things that kids that in today's world would look back on that was part of our childhood or whatever, or young adulthood, and think, that's mad, that's crazy. But yeah, I look at it and think, I'm not sure how that was ever allowed. But yeah, I mean, to be some of the quotes or some of the comments in the episode from Sullivan himself, in terms of, I mean, the one that struck me wasn't actually that graphic, but it was the one about, don't quote me on this, it's not quite correct, but it was something along the lines of, I do everything I can to get the most excitement for the customers without going to prison. You look,
yes, I remember him saying that. Yes,
Jesus Christ, you know you're getting to dodgy ground when you're talking about, I'm just about avoiding getting myself put in prison.
Well, he did get put in prison, didn't he?
Yeah.
Factually, that's not up for discussion. That's not up for debate. Factually, David Sullivan has a criminal record. He served time.
And that was for paying for services, wasn't it?
Yeah, prostitution, wasn't it?
I think. I can't remember if that was one of the underage ones or what. Possibly not, but yeah.
Well, there was in this article, I mean, and again, it's on the BBC, so anyone can go on the BBC News and read it. And he's, according to this article, he's admitted separately, paying for sex in the 90s with a girl who he says he believed was, and I'm quoting this directly, believed was 16 or 17 years old. Sullivan was in his 40s at the time. It only became illegal to pay for sex with a 16 or 17-year-old in 2003. And I've got to be honest with you, my initial reaction was, you believed she was 16 or 17. But you don't know
not she was.
She was.
Yeah, and I think the articles, I read that similar to you. I think the article's worded that the journalist is not necessarily stating, because they wouldn't do that, and they couldn't do that, and they couldn't necessarily say that, but I think they was potentially implying they didn't quite believe what he was saying. And I think his own words cast doubt over the age of that person, believes was 15 or 16. Well, do you believe it, or were they? That's a very different thing. But
it's just, yeah. I mean, look, there's all sorts of allegations that have been made, and as I say, the article that I've read goes into more graphic detail, and you can go on BBC News and read it. I read it, and I'll be honest with you, I was umming and ahhing whether to do a watch along like James did on E20 Zone TV or Dan Lawless did on West Ham Fan TV. More power to them, because I've got to be honest, I read that article and I was absolutely sick to my stomach, and I just went, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah, I think it's yeah, I haven't watched, obviously didn't watch either of the watch-alongs. I watched the show, but I can imagine they was quite careful, and hopefully they protected themselves like they needed to. I mean, Dan especially. I mean, the club are, well, not necessarily the club anymore. I've been so used to saying the club because he's been the club.
He's been the club, yeah,
for so long. But Sullivan is obviously Sullivan and the Sullivan family are obviously well aware of West Ham Fan TV. They will, I'm almost certain one of them will have watched or will watch that watch along to see if they can cause them any problems. Potentially, maybe he's got bigger fish to fry at this point, and causing fights and causing problems with a West Ham Fan YouTube channel.
I'm just going to get this one up from Walshy and guys.
Oh,
guys, I'm not ignoring your comments, but I just allegedly needs to be added to that, of course. But you would suggest that Karen Brady, Baroness Brady, has had a long working relationship with David Sullivan. Now that is a fact, going back to the early 90s. So you would suspect that there's a lot of things that Karen Brady has been aware of at certain points in time. If there has been any shenanigans going on, allegedly, supposedly, and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily shaky ground to say she's known what was in this. She's almost certainly, and that's still casting doubt because I'm not certain, but she's almost certainly known about what's in that documentary.
Well, she works for the BBC, doesn't she?
A number of weeks. She obviously works for the BBC and is quite a big figure in the BBC in terms of one of their biggest shows, I would imagine, these days. I don't know what's on the BBC these days, but I think it's probably still a big show with Lord Sugar and Baroness Brody and whoever the third person is these days. But she's a big star for the BBC. She's obviously stood down a few weeks ago. It's not a coincidence, is it? Let's be honest. That can't be a coincidence that she steps down, 4 weeks? I don't know. Well, I could have had a look at this, but it doesn't feel like it's been much longer than a month.
No.
That she stepped down. That can't be a coincidence. 5 games left of the season. If it wasn't need to do it immediately, you'd see out the season, wouldn't you, and go at the end of the season. So, yeah, I'm almost certain that she would have known what was coming in that documentary. I guess she would say that she has worked with Sullivan on football businesses and football operations over the last 40 years, how well that is entangled or not so with his other businesses and more seedier industries, I guess we will never know probably. But yeah, I mean, she's resigned to save face. There's rumours, and there's only rumours because they're rumours. There's no necessarily guarantee it's truth, but there's rumours that along with Kretinsky and Vanessa Gold plotting against him to get him out of West Ham or whatever, that she's been, I think someone said earlier, singing like a songbird or something like that in terms of what he's like since leaving West Ham. Who knows if that's true? But yeah, I mean, she's done what she can to protect her reputation. I still think she's going to be tarnished by it, whether she keeps a gig on the BBC. Probably done enough to save that. I think that Tony Livesey.
Tony Livesey, he actually still works for the BBC at BBC Radio 5 Live.
I feel like that might be coming to an end soon, but we'll see. I saw earlier that his show is on tonight. I don't know if he was due to be on, or maybe it was always a day that he had someone cover him because he was on holiday with family or whatever. I don't know. But I saw on the schedule that his show's on tonight, but he's not on it. I suspect, given the weight of that documentary, he may not be on BBC for much longer, but we'll see what happens there. That's not really our concern. But yeah, I think everyone seems to be deserting Sullivan. Bit too late though, I think.
I mean,
too late.
If there is, as I say, allegedly 8 complainants that over a period of time complained about any individual, whether it's David Sullivan or any other, and from what I've understood, if they've painted it, is I don't believe any of them appear to have been investigated in any way, shape, or form. And I just sit there and sort of as the observer, sort of watching as everybody else did, and just ask myself a question. Surely if, let's say, just move David Sullivan himself to one side. Let me just say about an average person had 8 complaints of a similar nature leveled against them by different people. I would think that the authorities would investigate that a little bit more thoroughly, because surely they turn around and go, well, hang on a minute, we've got different people, unrelated people, they don't know one another, and at different points in time they made a similar complaint against the same person. Maybe, just maybe, this isn't just one person that's popped up, and maybe you go, yeah, whatever. This is multiple times. So surely there comes a point when you would go, I need to look into this, because this is a pattern of events. This is a pattern of behavior against this person. And like I say, I'm not necessarily talking about David Sullivan himself. I'm just talking about in real life. I work in people management. Okay. I work in people management. And if I had someone that works under my team who had, let's say, different, I work with people that go into sort of people's houses and whatever, doing sort of what my trade is involved in. And if I had one of my guys, and they are all, I can say guys because they are all male, before anyone complains, I would have to look into it. And even if I looked into it and went, okay, I've got 8 complaints about the same guy about, I don't know, damaging kitchens. Okay. 8 different complaints about damaging kitchens. And if I just didn't look into it at all, I personally, I would say I'm failing in my responsibilities, because that's not just a one-off. That's 8 separate kitchens that you've ruined, mate. I need to sort of sit down and understand what's going on. I need to ask questions. I need to get sort of statements from the people whose kitchens you've ruined, whatever it might be. And from how that documentary unfolded, it would appear that unless I've misunderstood, it hasn't happened, which makes me just go, now wait a minute, because let's not forget the police they work for us. They work for the people. They work for the people. We fund them.
Yeah, I mean, let's not get into the police too much these days. There's more recent stories that don't shed a lot of good light on the police. But anyway, back to the subject matter at hand. I think there obviously has been some kind of investigation at some point, because we saw that picture years ago, and that must have been, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. That picture, I don't know if you remember that picture that came out of Sullivan walking out of Loughton police station with his lawyer, and that was in relation to similar allegations of what we was watching tonight, if online rumours is to be believed, and that's what they are, online speculation.
Yeah.
But there is some sort of evidence to suggest that an investigation has been undertaken at some point, and the police have come to the conclusion, for whatever reason, that there's not insufficient evidence to take any action. It doesn't. I agree with you. It didn't feel like there was any necessary deep dive investigation or long-term investigation. Maybe there has been. It's all been conducted in private, as these things probably should be. But I think I did read, maybe it was in that BBC article that you sent me, that someone had said, it might have been one of the not alligators, that's definitely not right. Complainants. Alligators is a type of animal.
I was going to say.
Yeah, maybe it was one of the complainants or one of the journalists in that article that said they'd missed an opportunity at one point to, what was it? It was search and go and investigate David Sullivan's house as part of the investigation. So that was obviously a missed at some point. So I think there must have been some level of investigation, but yeah, it hasn't come to anything, or it hasn't gone into the depths it should have done. But it's not necessarily a nice thing to say, but it wouldn't be the first time that one of these sorts of cases, allegations, whatever word you want to use, has not necessarily been investigated thoroughly by the police service until potentially much later down the line. And obviously the Savile case was mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
That was obviously only all came out really once he died. I suspect, and I haven't looked in, obviously knew about the Savile case, and I was old enough to be aware of it and look into it when it all came out, but I wouldn't say I necessarily know the ins and outs of it in every detail. I would suggest, if that had all came out whilst he was still alive, he would have a very solid claim in a court of law that he could never have a fair trial in this country. And I suspect that may be where there may be more allegations made by additional complainants after the show that we watched tonight. I suspect a very rich man's lawyer, highly paid lawyer, would potentially argue they could never have a fair and unbiased trial with that information that's been shared tonight out in the public. So I think there's a lot of calls and a lot of maybe wishful thinking of West Ham fans and other people, and probably just the general public, once they've seen that tonight, of if any of the allegations are true, then Mr. Sullivan getting dragged away in handcuffs, I suspect that may lead to a bit of disappointment and may never happen, because he won't be able to be tried. Like, that is my unfortunate take from this evening, I think.
I mean, the thing is that, again, he's under UK law. He is right now an innocent man. He's not been charged with anything. He's refutes the allegations totally. And they are allegations. Okay, I've got that bit out of the way. But I just look at this with just total disgust. If any of this is even remotely true, the fact that if this has been our chairman for the last 16 years, I mean, it makes me sick to my stomach to think, and I'm talking from a personal point of view here, if any of this, and it is an if, which he refutes the allegations again, that I kind of fell for it when he said about going to the London Stadium, bright new future, world-class stadium, world-class team and all that. And I, like a mug, kind of went, well, surely, this is going to take us to the next level. And I personally feel like such a cunt, honestly. I can't even begin to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, you're going back a long way there. I struggle to feel bad for anything that I would never have. I could never have known at that time.
No,
it's
but
never
I feel
within anyone's reasonable knowledge to have known what's these sorts of allegations. I say earlier that we're aware of these allegations. They've only been, some of it is obviously well known to older people potentially, but certainly my generation, I've only been aware of these allegations going around for 2 or 3 years, maybe, or maybe a little bit longer, with a photo from the police station. I think that was a fair few years ago. But yeah, I get what you mean, but I struggled to feel bad for something that I could done nothing about at the time. So, but yeah, I figure what you mean. I blame Brady more for the stadium move anyway.
Yeah, be interesting to see what happens next, because clearly these allegations from Panorama, he's not just going to sit there and go, well, shrug of the shoulders and whatever, because fundamentally he is either innocent or he is guilty. They're the only two options in town. Now, he states categorically that these are allegations and they're false and da 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 da. But and again, move David Sullivan to one side. Whenever anybody's accused of anything, how often do they ever put their hands up, even if they're banker rights, and go, yeah, it was me, fair cop? Everybody always refutes the allegations.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how it's going to play out. I think a lot of this is talking selfishly now. I get that, so I'll state that before I say it. But a lot of what West Ham fans, and are minimal in comparison to what victims and complainants have allegedly gone through, but as a West Ham fan, this has had the impact that we wanted it to have and what I wanted it to have. He is powerless at the club now, even if he does retain 35% shares, whatever it is. There's a lot of talk, and I think there's been a lot of talk for a number of years about, would he sell to Krasinski? Would he sell to the Americans? Is he going to sell? But I think there seems to be a ramping up of talk over the last couple of days, for obvious reasons, that he's going to sell or he's willing to sell. And I think the moment that happens, from a personal and club perspective, football perspective only, we've got what we needed. I think in terms of what happens to him, he's obviously going to fight the BBC, potentially sue the BBC, he reckons. I mean,
Wasn't it also the Times were involved in this investigation?
BBC Times, yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
It was a joint investigation, wasn't it? I think this is a bit grim to say, because I think it's just the reality. I think if he quietly left West Ham or sold his shares quietly left West Ham, faded away into insignificance for a few months, unless there's a follow-up documentary or follow-up investigations or potentially legal cases, I think give it a few months, give it 6 months. If nothing else is brought out to light and it's not continued, and he's not, I think, not suing the BBC could be his best course of action, fade into insignificance and go and live out the rest of his life with his hundreds of millions in the bank. I think he could quite easily drift into people's forgetfulness. Maybe not, but yeah, I think potentially he could, if he didn't drag this out with a libel case and whatnot. And look, if he's not guilty, he's not done anything wrong, and it is libel and defamatory by the BBC and the Times, then yeah, fine. I understand. Go at it, try and sue them, clear your name. But I think that's going to drag him through the mud for a number of years. That's going to keep popping up every couple of months. And it will keep the story headline news, and everyone will still be talking about it. I think it was damning, it was shocking, and there's lots of disgusting elements of that half hour on the BBC tonight. I don't think it was, how to say this without sounding like I'm trying to belittle it, I'm not. I don't think it was such a big expose that a lot of people didn't know about already, that actually if he just faded away into insignificance, I think he could probably just get away with it. And that's maybe even more damning than about our judicial system and or whatever, just damning about society than anything else. But yeah, that's, maybe he's going to fight it, and I think that's probably quite good to keep bringing the story up and keep him headline news. But
well, if he knows, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's just say he is innocent of all of these crimes, and he knows he's innocent of, then he absolutely should fight it 100%. You know, and let's be fair, let's be fair and balanced about this. I know it's tempting to sort of go studs up on him. I get that. I've got no
spent
time
10
for
years
that.
doing that, so
yeah.
we can't claim that we haven't done that.
Let's try and add a little bit of fairness and balance to it, right? If he is innocent, it is then, and he's been defamed and libeled and all the rest of it, and like you say, he absolutely should take the BBC and the Times to the cleaners. Because if I was sat there with a documentary coming out that I was sat there and knowing full well it was all a load of old bollocks, you're damn right I'd fucking sued him if I had his financial firepower. I 100% would. And let's not forget, this has happened. You know, there have been people that have been accused of all sorts of things that have later come out to be. I mean, take Cliff Richard, for example. Cliff Richard got accused of all sorts of, you know, shenanigans. And if you'd have sort of like believed what was said at the time, you'd have gone, oh, well, you know, let's tar and feather him. And then it came out a little while later that was a load of bollocks. So we need to bear that in mind. Like I say, I'm not trying to protect him, because if he's if any of this is even vaguely accurate, then like I say, me personally, I think anyone that's sort of done that sort of behavior over a consistent period of time, if I had my way, they'd never breathe, you know, air as a free man again.
Yeah, and even speaking on the other side of things, there's been accounts, and there was that famous one a few years ago where that model or woman, just say that, she reported that she'd been drugged or went out to Italy, maybe it was, and was out there for a photo shoot, but then she came back and said she'd been drugged and raped, trying to keep the video not getting took down off YouTube for the word that rhymes with grape. And then it turned out, I did an interview on This Morning or something on ITV, and it turned out it was all a load of bollocks. So, yeah, I mean, there wasn't 8 of them, granted, but it does happen.
Just going to get that. I take your point, Tony, and as I say, I'm not saying that your comment is incorrect. All I'm mindful of is that, as I say, and bear in mind, Cliff Richard's not a pauper. Cliff Richard also had certain allegations against him that were put out into the public domain, and then it later came out. I'm trying to be balanced. I'm trying to add a little bit of fairness. Like I say, let me be very clear. I've got no time for David Sullivan in terms of what he's done to our club. Okay, in terms of what he's done to our club, I've got no time for him. But as I say, I need to be fair. I need to be balanced. As I say, I don't want to just sort of like come out with my hatchet and start chopping away from him, though it's damn tempting. And as I say, if any of this proves to be true down the track, then he gets what he deserves. If he's put in a court of law for any of these allegations, if they are looked into by the authorities, then he will get what he deserves.
Yeah, I mean, let's be fair, I think it's the worst kept secret in the world that he's done his darndest to stop this being published. I mean, there's been talk of, or there's been knowledge of a Panorama investigation and documentary. I don't think it was ever mentioned at the Times, actually, but there's been knowledge of a Panorama documentary for a year, maybe more. It's been held up in litigation and been trying to get injunctions, and I think there was an injunction at one point from memory. I
think it was a super injunction. It was like people wouldn't even talk about it.
So I think someone has done their darndest to make sure it's not aired, but it's obviously been carefully edited and carefully worded so that it's an investigative documentary about allegations, and it's not a hit piece on what has happened or a non-fiction piece about documentary about what's happened. It's not labelled as that, so they've got it broadcast. Yeah, I mean, he has. I think it's fair enough to say he's tried to stop it being broadcast, and why wouldn't you? I guess. But yeah, I think just on what I just said, then I think it's only, and I do totally get, if you're innocent, then you want to clear your name. Cliff Richard was maybe slightly different because he got away back into public life, and I'm actually saying that I'm not sure if he's back into music now or not, but I don't see, even if Sullivan clears his name and it all turns out to be unproven, should we say, or not true, there's no way back. It's only ego and arrogance and maybe proudness, and maybe that's, I don't want to say he's anything necessarily positive, but maybe that's admirable to be that proud that you'd spend the rest of your life, because he's an old man, spend the next 2-3 years in court battles trying to sue the BBC for libel when he's not short of a few quid. He doesn't need the money. Maybe it is all about getting a clear name, but I think, yeah, if I was him, I'd fade away into insignificance quietly with my plastic bird on my arm on a super yacht in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean or whatever ocean he wants to choose. And I think, yeah.
He needs to be careful after what happened to Robert Maxwell. Mind you, you're too young to know what happened there.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's not the one. What one am I thinking of? Ghislaine Maxwell.
No. That was Robert Maxwell. Was Ghislaine Maxwell's father.
Father, yeah.
He basically fell off the side of his yacht, and there was all sorts of conspiracy theories about what happened, and did he sort of like die, or was he pushed, or was it or this, that, and the other? There was all sorts of,
a bit like a Harvey.
Yeah.
So Harvey. Yeah, it's just a bit strong to say I feel sorry for his boys. I don't really have much love for either. I do.
To be fair, I probably do, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, to have that as
Even
your
if this
father,
is, if whether this is true or untrue, because either way, to hear, and I would have thought they would have be very aware of what was coming out. They might have watched it, they might not, but they'd absolutely be fools if they aren't aware of what's in the contents of that. And even if David Sullivan is 100% squeaky clean, that can't have been nice for them to hear. So again, I don't know them, and I've not particularly got any time for them in terms of what they've done or not done, more to the point, for this football club. But from a human element, that can't be.
yeah.
Can't be
I mean,
nice.
there was enough that he said in his own words, David Sullivan, in that documentary, and obviously not that documentary, but it was from other films and TV shows or whatever he's been in. There was enough lines that he said that if that was your dad, you'd be like, "Fuck, that's that's embarrassing." That
Exactly what Harry's just said in the chat.
Doesn't feel like embarrassing. Doesn't feel like a strong enough word, but you know what I mean. But
yeah,
I think if there's one out, and I don't actually think there's this. Well, I don't think there's any new outcomes up from what's happened over the last 2 days or whatever, 3 days, however long it's been. Saturday, wasn't it? That's obviously happened. He's gone. He's selling his shares. It sounds like. I don't think anything new necessarily related to Davy Sullivan and West Ham is going to come out of that documentary. I think it does make it. I mean, it's already sort of been confirmed that it's not going to happen anyway, but I think it does make it completely impossible for the two boys to have anything to do with West Ham going forward. I mean, it just cannot happen. And obviously, sources in the nose out there have said it's not going to happen anyway. But yeah, I think they certainly will want to get out of the limelight for a little while. Focus on their other businesses. I think it was X that said that. So I think that will definitely have, in my opinion, put an end to the Sullivan's reign at West Ham United, which is a good thing from our side anyway.
Yeah, I've got an early one in the morning. I've got to drive up to sunny Cambridgeshire, Peterborough. So
sunny Sidcup for me.
Oh, excellent. Only down the road.
Nice quick one.
Well, you say that in London traffic, depending upon what you're sort of heading into, mate, it might not be so quick.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's 20 minutes. It's between 20 minutes and an hour, so take your pick. But
yeah, so yeah, well, it will be very interesting to see what comes next, because something will come next, whether he's innocent, whether he's guilty, whatever. Let's say he refutes the allegation. So he said that he's going to sue the BBC and he's going to sue the Times. So he's kind of backed himself into a corner as far as that's concerned, doesn't he? Because if, having said that, and that's out in the public domain, that is what he's going to do if it aired, which it now has, he now has no choice. He now has to take legal action, because if he doesn't, that also will look, people will say, why didn't you take them to court, David?
Yeah, I think you're right. He has backed himself into a corner, but yeah, it's just that thing of does he want to enjoy the last few years he's got left in and out of civil court battles with the BBC over money he doesn't need, or would it be better for him to just piss off with his dolly bird into the Mediterranean or something? But that's up to him. I don't honestly, well, on his point and clearing his name, I don't really give two hoots about that. He can do what he wants.
Yeah, none of my business.
The biggest thing for us, he's gone from West Ham, or he's going from West Ham. He's powerless and he's about to be gone.
But is there any part of this, whether he's innocent or whether he's not, these allegations, and I know he's our ex-chairman, I know He's an ex-director, but he was our chairman for 16 years, and still, as of right now, holds 38.8% of the equity within the club. This taints us, doesn't it? Whether we like it, whether we don't, this taints us as a club, I believe. Even if the allegations are false, the fact that the sort of shitstorm around the media, I think this doesn't do us any favors, does it?
It certainly doesn't do us any favors. I think would be better, given it's made happen, would be better for a club if it never came out. That's debatable, but it certainly isn't good for the club, put it that way, in terms of its image and its perception. And all the while we retain shares, our sponsor's going to want to be involved, the charity's going to want to be involved.
Yeah.
There's obviously that bit at the end of the article which says about West Ham got a partnership with, I can't remember the name of the charity.
I mean, Harry's just put in the chat, and I understand what you're saying, Harry. You're right. If, the allegations are on the individual, not on the club. But as I say, he does still own 38.8% of the club. He has been our chairman for 16 years up till Saturday. And Andy's gone on to say tainted by association. And in exactly what you just said there, Charlie, there will be people or organizations, not people, but organizations are fundamentally made up of people that will look at those allegations. And even though he's no longer the chairman, there will be corporate entities and businesses that may have possibly, up to this point in time, been thinking about doing business with West Ham to try and sort of put some money in our coffers, which, let's face it, we're 150 million pounds in debt. We need all the help we can get as a club. Now might be thinking, oh, do you know what? Not so sure I'm going to bother now.
I think it's definitely fair to say that there is an element of that. I think what counteracts that potentially is the fact that as a fan base, we've been bleating on about this for the best part of a couple of years. I mean, it's the whole, or pretty much the whole of last season, away ends were singing about our owner being the away ends were singing about our owner being a sex offender. Whether that's true or not is to be confirmed or alleged or whatever you want to say. But those songs were being sung in the terraces in the away end the whole season. They were sung in the home stadium at the Leeds game.
They were. As
a fan base, we've not been protecting this owner at all. If anything, we've been
quite the reverse.
From the victims, of course, who've come forward and sort of brought this to the attention of the Times and the BBC.
But bear in mind, I mean, sort of like, do you remember? You obviously, because it wasn't that long ago. You remember what happened when? And this was something we know happened factually. Kurt Zuma kicked his cat. That was caught on camera, and there were sponsors that left the club. And like I say, I'm just sort of like making the point that.
Yeah, I think the only difference there is we was singing a song in support of him kicking cats. I don't think that was necessarily a good thing or a good look on the fan base. Whereas this was trying to say this guy's a wrong one.
Oh yeah. But I'm just saying, in terms of the here and the now, and ahead of us going, because there, things like the shirt sponsorship deal and things like that. I don't know how far advanced the club are in trying to get that ironed out. That's usually quite a big thing for sort of like in terms of the club's revenue and finances and all that. And like I say, whether this is exactly what Walsh has just put, sponsors don't like negative news. So, and despite the fact he's not the chairman anymore, but could there be a company that goes, we actually, whether this is fact or fiction, these allegations, we'd rather not, if you don't mind, be anywhere near them. We'll go somewhere else.
I think there's definitely a chance. I think there's definitely an element of that. I think it's fair to say some sponsors and some brands are going to be more choosy of who they want to be associated with than others. I mean, I'd be surprised if our current sponsors, front shirt sponsors, feel different after that documentary or know any more than that documentary? If they did, I'm asking, well, why didn't they know who they was getting into bed with already? And they could obviously carry on being our front of shirt sponsor next season. So I wouldn't be surprised if that deal gets extended at a reduced level or something like that, because it's an easy deal to do. Obviously, the quicker the guy is, whether they're alleged allegations or whatever, the quicker he's out of the club and he's not a shareholder, the easier those relationships are to repair or get new ones. Yeah, I suspect our new interim CEO will be, if he hasn't done already, will be signing Betway up to another season as front of shirt sponsor as quickly as possible. I imagine that deal was already done, but there definitely could be an impact for sure. But people are not going to like it being out there.
What I would say is, if the main thing for me, cutting through all the sort of like the sponsorship ramifications, the one thing that I have to sort of zone back on is that if there is any situation where someone I'm move David Sullivan to one side, just a person in a position of power, authority, influence, whatever, if that individual, and there have been many instances of this through all of history, people who use power, influence, and money to get their way. Anyone that does that and takes advantage of people that are less fortunate and just for their own gratification, all that, I'm going to say it. And like I say, I've moved David Sullivan himself to one side. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about anyone that has ever been in that position where they could manipulate people and coerce people into doing their bidding and doing things that maybe they are not comfortable with doing, but they feel like they don't have a choice. They're cunts. They're cunts.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Audi's obviously been mentioned in the chat. I think a brand like a reputable brand. Now I sound like I'm defaming Betway, but a high-end brand like Audi, I don't think would be interested in being West Ham shirt sponsor.
I think we'd struggle to get Aldi, the supermarket, in that situation, let alone Audi, the car manufacturer.
Yeah, but as I say, I'm not talking about Betway specifically, but there are, and even if it's not an English betting company, there are foreign, specifically, there's lots of Asian betting companies that I don't think will necessarily have too many reservations to get themselves as front of shirt sponsor and in front of.
Bear in mind, we're not a Premier League club anymore.
No, and I suspect that will mean more money in terms of front of shirt sponsorship next year, because we'll continue to have betting companies. We'll end up with a betting company on the front of the shirt, and we'll end up with a betting company on the sleeve, probably,
and on the back of because they can do sponsorship on the back of the shirts as well, can't they?
Championship, yeah, I've seen that before. We're going to have all sorts of Asian and questionable betting and cryptocurrency sponsors, so I suspect a lot of them.
Probably not the Daily Sport, though.
No, probably.
I'm not even sure if they even still exist.
Yeah. Well, no, I think they still, because they said he still owns one. Sunday Sport. I think he still owns the Sunday Sport, I think they said. Whether the Daily Sport exists, I'm not sure. But, I mean, I don't think this is defamatory. And I don't think it's crossing any lines. But that Daily Sports geezer who worked there and run things for all those years, this is a personal opinion. This is nothing factual. He come across as a right wanker.
Was that the bald one?
Yeah, the one that was backing David Sullivan, which
he was. Yeah, he was, wasn't he?
Yeah, fine.
He was saying, "Well, no, it wouldn't be acceptable now, but back then it was okay."
Yeah, even just.
You sure?
It wasn't even necessarily the things he was saying. I mean, it was, but it was more so how he was saying it. I thought, you are a massive wanker. But I mean, no, maybe not that. Maybe not that comment. That might be getting too far. But you got to ask, what what's in it for someone to go on BBC's Panorama documentary about allegations like that and be the one sole supporting voice for the target of the allegations. You do wonder why you would do that.
Yeah. Wow.
That's all I should say on that one.
Like I say, all very unsavoury. And as I say, anyone, and like I say, I'm being very careful. I'm not specifying David Sullivan. I'm specifying anyone that it's proven that behaves in a way that resembles what this has alleged has happened. I'm sorry. That's appalling. Absolutely appalling. You know, those young girls. I've got a daughter. You know, they're someone's daughter. They're someone's sister. Whatever. Yeah, just appalling. Absolutely appalling conduct from anyone.
Yeah.
And as I say, what I read in those articles made what was on Panorama seem like a bloody, you know, a bedtime story for your children by comparison. What I read in that article, I just went.
Yeah, I imagine there's more out there because I basically finished work, jumped in the car, got home, did a bit of tidying around the house whilst it was quiet, and then jumped on here. Then watched the Panorama and then jumped on here with you. But I've scrolled through Twitter and whatever a few times, and there's Guardian articles, there's Times articles, there's
I'm watching the telly in the front room. I'm watching it from where I'm sitting right now, and it's article number 1. It's on right now.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff out there too. I mean, I know I've spoken to some people in that chat tonight, and they've watched the show, they've got an opinion on it, they've talked about it for 15 minutes after or whatever, and then a few of them have said, crack on talking about it if you like, but I'm signing off for the evening. I'll come back when we're talking about football, because it's just, I could totally understand why some people wouldn't want to necessarily talk about it or hear about it any more than I think everyone felt a duty to watch it tonight, in terms of whether it's in relation to being a West Ham fan or just because it's.
I think so, because I think if he was still the chairman of Birmingham, I wouldn't have made a point. This is just, I'm speaking for myself here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been sort of like saying, "Oh, I need to watch that." But I think it's the curiosity factor for me, and I can only say that's for me, to really sort of like try and understand potentially, because there are allegations, potentially what has been sitting in the director's chair, in the director's box every match day for the last 16 years, and the person that was largely responsible for taking us from Upton Park. As I say, if these allegations are even partway true, I feel very, very sorry that he came into the boardroom at any point in time. Even when he did come in and we was on our knees, I think I'd have much rather we just found another way of dealing with that situation, quite frankly.
Yeah, and I think we'd all be glued to it even if it hadn't happened. But I think the fact that, having been told about this being broadcast, and I think they said it in the episode, he was told Friday, I would imagine.
Friday, yeah.
And he resigned the next day. That sort of piqued curiosity even more, because you think, hang on a minute. I knew it was pretty bad, but even I was surprised when he stood down. I think everyone was surprised that after all that shit he stood up against, that he went so quickly, and quickly might be the wrong word, but just out of the blue, which it felt out of the blue. I think that probably piqued everyone's interest even more to see what was in it. But yeah, as you say, if it was Charlton Athletics chairman, you probably, or a lot of people probably wouldn't have made a point of watching it tonight. So I think it is that curiosity and link with West Ham. But yeah, interesting evening.
Well, we just have to wait and see how this plays out. As I say, he's no longer the chairman, so from that angle, he's no longer making decisions. As I say, but I think until his last solitary share is sold and his entire bloodline is out of the club, I said it to you earlier. We need to remain vigilant because whether we like it or whether we don't, he could at any point exert an influence because he owns 38.8% of the club right now.
Yeah,
so
I would. Maybe this isn't necessarily time to go into it or spread it wider, but I would say his bloodline needs to be out, or his surname needs to be out of it, and so does David Gold's, and that's nothing against Jacqueline necessarily personally. She's done nothing wrong from as far as we know anyway. She's doesn't even necessarily want to be part of West Ham or owner of West Ham at the moment.
Vanessa wants Sullivan out. What I've heard, she wants him gone.
Just so Jacqueline. I meant Vanessa.
That's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry.
I think both surnames need to go and be clear of West Ham, and just before we can fully move on, I think now this feels like I'm doing a hit piece on the dead, but that man who is a supposedly West Ham fan, claret blue through and through, has basically enabled this man who's has these allegations against him, and that witch of a vice chair that was around for all those years to destroy this club. And we're away from the allegations and talking about the impact they've had on the club, but David Gold enabled them to. That surname needs to be out of this football club as well as nearly as much as Sullivan's. So fingers crossed we can get to a point where it all develops over the next few days. The Gold shares are sold up. The Sullivan shares are sold up. Do I have much faith in Kretinsky as a potential owner? No, not particularly.
No, I don't either.
Would I take Chairman Mao over David Sullivan and the Golds? Probably. That was a joke, obviously, for clarity, but I was going to say the other one that probably wouldn't have gone down even worse. But yeah, they need to be gone. If Daniel Kretinsky wants to flip us, fine, flip us. But we'll see what comes next. But
Walshy, can you deal with that, please? Thank you. You being your moderator self, if you could do the honours. We have a troublemaker.
Somehow, I don't think that's Nick.
No, I don't.
Standing up for Sullivan. I suspect that may not be Nick.
No, I suspect very strongly that is not Mr. Killington.
No, but you're always going to get. It's probably a Tottenham fan.
Yeah,
you're always going to get some.
And look, he may be innocent.
Currently,
there's no need to put it in repetitively. You're just sort of showing off.
That's a very nice way of putting being a cunt.
You may say that. I could not possibly comment. But
yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah,
it's been nice to have you on, Charlie.
It's
a shame that we have to talk about what we have to talk about, but I think it's one of those things that I think it would be. This is just my opinion. As I say, I did and ah about doing a watch along for it, and I was, should I, shouldn't I? Is it the right thing to do? And then I saw, because that I had the idea about doing a watch along on Saturday, I think it was, wasn't I? That I said to you that I was thinking about doing it. And then I got to be honest with you, I wrestled and sort of said, is it the right thing to do morally? Because I do sort of stand on principle, and I did sort of sit there and go, I don't know, is it the right thing? Then I saw, obviously, that James and Dan were doing it, and then I started to think, oh, maybe I should, because I actually deleted it this morning from YouTube. And then when I saw that James and Dan were doing it on E20 and West Ham Fan TV respectively, is I then started to convince myself that maybe I should, blah blah blah. Yeah, do you want to deal with that one as well, Bullshit? Got another one that's someone's left the gate open at the cunt farm, I'm afraid. So if you can deal with that, I would appreciate it.
Gotta be past his bedtime, innit?
Yeah. Deary me. Deary me.
Brady when she
At least Big Barry at least learned to fucking spell, you absolute wanker. Fucking idiot. Anyway. Where did I get to?
You was having an hour and whether to do it or not.
Yeah, so sort of like, and in the end, I got to be honest, like I say, I read the allegations on BBC News. They made me just totally disgusted. Just reading them, and even sort of if it's not, even if it's all sort of like allegations and nothing more, just reading what was the alleged sort of impropriety was just it turned my stomach, to be honest with you. And I just thought, I don't think if what's on the program resembles what I'm reading, I'm not going to be able to keep my composure. I'm just not.
Yeah, I think doing it, I think this worked out better, to be honest. As I don't know how the guys reacted when they was doing a watch along, but I think having that time to sort of see what was in it, have a cup of tea, and then come on and talk about it calmly and carefully. I mean, I'm exhausted from straddling this tightrope. Fuck me. But I think
we've said allegedly, and he's innocent multiple times. And and look, that is a fundamental point. Right now, he's like I say, the British law says he is innocent
until a drinking game.
So
we should have made it a drinking game every time we said allegedly. Someone take a shot. Yeah, it would be absolutely bladdered.
Brilliant.
But hopefully, I mean, there's going to be more fallout from it. Hopefully, eventually, the shares get sold and he goes and does what he wants to do away from West Ham, which is ultimately what I'm interested in.
We got another one. We got another one, Walshy. Can you get your bat out again, please, mate?
We
got another one. What is it? Is it fucking 6 weeks half term or something like that? What's going on?
I've not got to that yet, is it? Can't remember what I was saying now. But yeah, ultimately, it's hopefully he sells his shares, and then we can all move on from him.
We're just attracting cunts now in the chat. You're not all cunts in the chat, by the way. Just sort of like we've got some.
It was always going to happen, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's great, brilliant.
I mean, can't imagine what their watch along comments were like. Certainly, watch West Ham Fan TV. That would have been. I hope he had a lot of moderators on, but yeah, hopefully at some point in the next few weeks we can get on to talking about.
Well, this is going to be my last. I'll be honest. This is my first and last time that I'm going to broach this subject, and I'm leaving it well alone after this. But as I say, I just thought to myself, do you know what? I think it would be completely disingenuous to not talk about it in as best a way as we can, and then just move on from it. I'm not gonna revisit this as far as I'm concerned. We've said what we've said, and that's it. As I say, he now needs to go and fight these allegations. He now needs to go defend himself from the allegations. He needs to sue the people that made the allegations, because he's said that he will, and if he doesn't, then that doesn't look great. So,
yeah, so I hope we give it a few weeks. We're talking about football and World Cup and transfers and losing half our squad. I mean, it looks like looking more promising in the reports that we might get close to 80 million for Fernandes. So that'll be something worth talking about. Yeah, well, I think it was a big name one, whether it was Romano or Henry Winter, or it was a big name that you'd recognise. I think it was before, whilst EastEnders was on a fight scene. I wasn't quite interested in watching that before the Panorama started. I was scrolling through Twitter, and it was one of the reputable journalists saying that West Ham have set the price at £85 million for Fernandes, so that's gone up £5 million for a start. And that there's multiple suitors and multiple interested parties, and Fernandes has been made aware that that's the club stance, and they won't be budging from it. So, I mean, it will.
Well, they will. You know that, and I know that.
Yeah, but I'd rather be starting from 85 million in negotiations, starting from 50. So, if we get anything over 70 million, I think 75 million, I think we've done very well. Yeah, let's hope we start talking.
Southampton have a sell-on clause, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They're 15%, but
is that 15% of the total, or 15% of anything above a certain amount?
It's usually a profit on the 15% on the profit. I mean, it'd be very West Ham to be so thick to make it 15% on everything, but
yeah,
I can't see it. They can't be that clueless and incompetent.
Really?
They could.
Really?
But what?
Hold my beer.
Yeah. What did we pay for him? Was it 35?
I thought it was around 40 million, give or take.
Yeah, so say 40. So say you'd sell him for 80. So you're giving away 15% of that. That's 12 million. So,
yeah, I agree with Matt. I don't think we're getting 80. I think if we got 65, we've done well.
Yeah, for me, it's got to start with a 7.
Yeah,
and that's assuming that it's 15% on the profit. Which
I think we get 70 if we're a Premier League club, and possibly not 150 million in debt. I think the fact that those two boxes are ticked, I think we lose a bit of leverage.
Yeah, but I think we regain leverage when you start thinking about, or start, whether it's factual or not, but there's a lot of talk that PSG, Man United, Real Madrid are all involved, Arsenal. When you talking about that sort of level of club and multiple of them clubs,
but then what if the player starts? What if the player starts to agitate for the move and starts to make noises about, well, look, if you don't sell me, I'm going to go on strike? We've been there before.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing we've seen over the last 5 years the increase of player power, and they seem to have the final say on everything. But a well-operated club would say, well, we're going to accept the highest bid. If you want to go somewhere, you get your agent to make sure they're the highest bid, and whatever, and we'll accept that, and you can go there. If it's not, you can choose to go wherever we accept. If not, go on strike, and we won't pay your wages for a year, and you can sit in the reserves. It's not going to happen.
I was going to say it never happens that.
But yeah,
I mean, even Newcastle, with all of their sort of like billions and billions of petrochemical dollars or whatever, you know, when Alexander Isak turned around and said he was going on strike, I'll be honest with you, as someone that had absolutely no skin in the game, Charlie, I was keeping my fingers crossed and saying, do you know what? If there's a club that could turn around to a player and go, fuck you, we will stick you in the reserves and we will let you rot, I thought, well, Newcastle could do it, but they didn't. And the moment that happened, I sort of went, well, that's that then, isn't it? Player power.
Yeah.
Well, get your bat out again, mate.
Another one.
Jesus Christ. What? They're like cockroaches.
And as I said,
cockroaches.
As I predicted, Spurs.
Yeah, there we go.
Who would have guessed that?
There we go.
I'm shocked. Yeah, but I think with the Isak one, they got pretty much what they wanted, didn't they? They got like 125 million. I think they might have started at 130 or 140, but I think
he effectively went on strike, didn't he? I know that they never started the season before he left, sort of thing. But he basically threatened to, I'm not going to kick a football for you again. Done.
Yeah, he did, but then I think they stood their ground and they said, well, we'll sell you when the valuations met, and obviously Liverpool got to that.
Didn't they ask for 150? I'm sure they said it's 150. So,
Possibly.
and I think they moved him on for 125. So it depends upon how you look at it, doesn't it? You know, they got 125, but they were 25 million pounds off of what they were quite adamant from memory that they wanted for the geezer.
Yeah, and there's so much money involved in these deals. You'll have two sides spinning it in totally different ways. You'll have the Man United in the nose saying we got him for 55 million, and then you're gonna have the West Ham in the nose saying we sold him for 75 million because there's 20 million of clauses or sell-on fees or so. Yeah, I think I don't know. I think there's unfortunately he's not in the Portugal squad, is he? So he can't have a good World Cup.
They must have some really good central mids because I've got to be honest, he looked mustard in a team that was shit for most of it.
Yeah, he looked good compared to a load of wank, a load of shit. I think there was a lot of games he didn't turn up in. I think he gets. Maybe this is a conversation for another video, another day, but I think being less shit than an absolute
not another one.
He got a bit more credit than he deserved last season. I think there was certain games where he played really well, but I think that was probably a number of games I can count on one hand. How much time do you think this person's wasted creating accounts just to?
It's amazing, isn't it? Sitting in his mother's back bedroom with his trousers round his ankles, a packet of Wotsits in one hand, his cock in the other. Excellent.
Yeah, I mean,
and he's decided to come here.
I was just thinking that.
You do realize that you coming and watching is just basically sort of putting literally money in our pocket. I mean, granted, it's not much. It's like maybe pence. Probably not even a penny. Let's be fair, but fundamentally, you coming here, you're helping us out. So thanks for that.
Yeah, I mean, I half understand it in a sort of West Ham fan TV size level chat where there's 1,500 viewers and they can.
There's fucking 39 people watching this.
Act like a fucking imbecile.
Got 2,000 subscribers.
Yeah, act like an imbecile and get a response from 1,500 people.
We got someone that's friendly in the chat. Josiah, hello, how are you? At least there's someone that's. I mean, not all the rest of you in there, like Leon and all the rest are sensible, and Walshy and Leslie and all the others that are in chat. The nice people, the ones that pop up and just spam the living daylights out of it. I've got no time for them. So
there's one fella, there's one geezer that's got multiple accounts, and every time he gets banned, he's got all the troll accounts.
Yeah,
that has got to be one sad life. Like,
What do you reckon? I'm thinking mid-30s, living at home with mummy. Daddy's not around now. Probably didn't get loved as a sort of like
prison.
Yeah, possibly in prison. No, I wouldn't. Well, it could be Walshy. It could be. They're keeping you busy tonight, aren't they, son? With your spanner. You glad I gave that to you? Yeah. Yeah, I reckon mid 30s, possibly late 40s even. And I reckon they're in there, like I say, their mum's back bedroom. Probably in about 5 minutes, she'll knock at the door and he'll have to put his cock away. And it's like,
don't say he's got that in his hand whilst watching us. Oof.
Leonard, I've got you your cup of cocoa here. Oh yes, Mum, leave it just there. I'll be in a minute. Oh, we got another one. Here we go.
It's I find it quite funny, but
it's mildly amusing.
Yeah, I do amusing. I feel. I said what I said earlier about being a cunt, but I feel mildly sorry for them because if that is a version of entertainment in someone's life, that is.
Yeah. You do realise you're going to make your cock go orange when you're sort of like you're putting your hand into the cheesy Wotsits and then you're giving the old salami a bit of a stroke. Your dick's going to turn orange. You'll go to the doctors.
Nothing like a bit of graphic description, eh? You paint a real picture there.
I'm sorry, Charlie. Actually, I'm not. That's a lie.
I'm not going to touch Whatsits for weeks.
Skips. Can I interest you in some skips?
I used to
Quavers?
enjoy skips. No, I've never liked quavers. I used to enjoy skips, but I tried some a few months. I say a few months ago. It was probably about 3 years ago. I don't know. They didn't tickle my fancy these days.
I'll tell you what, for the sensible people in the chat, what is if you could only have one brand of crisps, one flavor of crisps for the rest of your life, what would it be? Go. What about you, Charlie?
One brand of crisps.
Brand
Whoa.
and the flavor.
Oh, this is going to make me sound like a 12-year-old child now, but I reckon it could be. I reckon it's got to be salt and vinegar chipsticks.
Ooh.
I
Really?
do love a bag of chipsticks. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a glutton
Steve
for a bit
reckons
of salt.
cheese and onion Walkers.
It's just a bit
Leon's gone with
boring, Walkers,
Golden
isn't
Wonder
they?
Rinkos, and Andy's gone with Mick Mac's Campy and
Golden
Lemon.
Wonder's a shout. They were
Josiah's
great
going
back in the day.
ready sorted Walkers. Oh.
I mean, that
Excellent.
is.
Do you know
an
the ones I
interesting
used to like?
choice.
And I haven't seen them around for ages. Does anybody remember Brannigan's? No, Charlie
No.
shaking his head. He's too
Showing
young.
your age
I
there.
reckon that these crisps, I think they must have been discontinued because I haven't seen them for yonks. But I remember there was a brand of crisps called Brannigan's, and the front of the packet of crisps was this sort of like this old school shopkeeper with the old apron and the sort of like the sort of not a bowler hat, but like a it was not a trilby. I can't. Might be pork pie hat. I don't know. Whatever. That's the one. Steve, you got it. It was roast beef and mustard. It was roast beef and mustard flavored Brannigan's crisps, and I actually really enjoyed them. And I haven't seen them for donkey's years. I don't know whether they're still around. Butcher's hat. That's it, Leon. Matt's gone with Frazzles.
Yeah, I could stick with my answer, but I might change the salt and vinegar Golden Wonders. Golden Wonder salt and vinegar back in the day was outrageously good. Do they even still exist?
What, Golden Wonder?
Yeah, I've not seen
That's a
them in
great
years.
point. I mean, I've seen McCoy's, Walker's. Obviously, is dominant in the crisp industry. Crisp sandwiches, says Steve. Right, I'll tell you what.
Salt
Right,
and vinegar
Steve,
Walkers.
have you what
Like,
salt and
only
vinegar
crisp-
Walkers? For?
Crisp
No,
sandwich, yeah, that's the only thing that can go on a sandwich.
no. Have you never tried cheese and onion with some salad cream on it?
No,
Mate.
wouldn't really go well for someone who doesn't like salad cream or cheese.
No.
No.
Oh. Are they, Josiah? What Brannigan's is still around? I haven't seen them for yonks, absolutely ages. Mind you, it's probably I probably could look around and really investigate. But Pringles now, Leslie, what is it that Gonzo often says, Charlie? He doesn't believe they're crisps because they're not made of potatoes.
Yeah.
They're made of what is it, rice or something?
Starch.
Yeah, it's not potatoes. So it's like there's that. It's a bit like, is a Jaffa cake a biscuit? You find them in the biscuit aisle of the supermarket, but are they a biscuit? Well, they're called a cake. So there's a clue. Do you know what the other clue is?
Oh, they're 42% potato. The way Gonzo was speaking about it, I thought it was like 11% potato or something. Pringles are 42% potatoes combined with flour and starches.
Is a Jaffa cake, and again, this is for the chat. We've kind of gone off on a tangent. We've gone about talking about sort of Panorama, and now we're getting really into the proper subjects now, people. This is where it happens. Is a Jaffa cake a cake or a biscuit?
I'll answer that with a question. If I turned up to your birthday party with a Jaffa cake with a fucking candle in it, you being happy or not?
I would. I'd love Jaffa cake. I've got to say.
That doesn't help my point. All right, I come to your birthday party and slice a Jaffa cake 6 ways because you only got 5 friends, obviously.
Yep.
You taking a sip for Jaffa
That many?
cake? I was being kind.
Okay, fair enough.
You taking a sip of a Jaffa cake as you slice a
would.
cake from a party?
I would.
Yeah.
I would. Okay, but that doesn't answer the question. Is it a biscuit or is it a cake?
It's a biscuit.
Right. Okay. So let me ask you. Okay. Let me now push back against that.
You can't
right?
push back against that. That's been proven in a court of law.
Wait. No. Right. Okay. So name me what is definitively a biscuit that you know there's no argument that is a biscuit. Name one.
Rich tea.
Okay. So I take a rich tea biscuit. Okay. And I leave it out on the side. It's out of its packet. I leave it on the counter for a day or two, and you go to it and you bite into it. What are you confronted by? Is it the same as it would have been when you took it out of the packet, or what's its texture like? What's happened to it in the interim?
I know where you're going with this, but
go on.
It's dry and hard and horrible.
Right, it's soft, isn't it?
No, if you leave a rich tea out, it goes stale, won't it? I don't know. I never left it. I don't.
If you take a biscuit and you take a Jaffa cake and you leave them out, sorry, yeah, it's the other way around. So the biscuit goes soft, the Jaffa cake goes hard. Same as a cake. It's a cake.
No,
they actually tax. From what someone told me, they tax Jaffa cakes differently to what they tax, say, digestives or whatever, because they reckon it's a luxury item.
I got it the wrong way around. No, I stand corrected. Legally,
I'm making a believer out of you.
It's a cake.
Thank you.
I'd still say it's a biscuit, but legally,
you're in the biscuit aisle, and you put in. Probably most people put it in the biscuit tin, don't they? But clues in the name. Walshy's with me.
In a famous 1991 UK court case, McVitie successfully argued to avoid the 20% VAT placed on chocolate-covered biscuits.
There you go. They're taxed differently.
Yeah, no, I knew the court case and just knew it the wrong way around, apparently, because I'm an idiot. I hope they don't get this court case that was talking about earlier around the wrong way.
Matt also says that Jaffa cake is a cake. And Walshy's asking now. Here we go. This is getting intriguing now. I was going to end this about sort of half an hour ago.
No one's going to like my answer to Walshy's
what the
question.
Dunking biscuits.
Yeah,
go on.
I could turn around and say David Sullivan's the best person in the world, and I'd still be discredited more from this view of what's the best Dunking biscuit.
Go on.
It's a rich tea. It's the only thing that gets dunked.
I'll be honest, I'm not overly in love with rich teas. I mean, Steve reckons it's ginger nuts all the way for him, which I don't mind ginger nuts, but I can take or leave them, to be fair. I love digestives.
See,
chocolate,
I love a digestive.
plain, whatever.
I love a digestive. I've got only half a pack left in the cupboard because I ate the rest last night, but I won't dunk a digestive.
Bourbons?
Yeah, love a bourbon. Won't dunk it.
Custard cream?
They're all right. I still won't dunk them. I wouldn't necessarily pick them up from the biscuit aisle, but I'd eat one if there was on a party.
Pink wafer, says Walshy.
The only thing you can dunk is a rich tea, and the best
Xenophobic says a chalky hobnob, and I've got to say, I'd say you're probably there or thereabouts in my book.
Don't know if I've ever had a hobnob.
No.
Don't know. Don't think so. I always look at
any hobnob. Seriously.
No, I don't think so. They're basically digestives, no?
We've got a Sheffield Wednesday fan in, Jackanaut, if I've pronounced that right. Welcome along. I'll tell you what, I've got to tell you. Yeah, hopefully we do. Mate, honestly, your club got absolutely ruined by the authorities and that wanker that you had in the boardroom, which I'm so glad that you've got shot of him, mate. Honestly, what they've done between the whatever his fucking name was, I can't remember his name was, whatever. You'll probably was it Chansiri, I think it was, and what the FA and or the Football League, whoever it was, just sort of like put in penalty upon penalty. Absolute wankers, mate. They've fucking ruined you lot. I hope you're back. I hope you're back to where you belong before soon. And to be honest, I've said it for years. Sheffield Wednesday. I always remember Sheffield Wednesday being a top flight club coming up, and for me, they should be there or thereabouts Premier League. They're more than big enough to be in the Premier League in terms of their ground, their supporter base, and all that. Fucking disgrace where they went through last seasons. And I'll make you right. Favourites to win League One.
That's all right. You can take Millwall's place when we send them down next season.
Did we watch the documentary? We did. Xenophobic. We did. We've covered that, and like I say, there was lots of allegedlys and lots of innocent until proven guilty that we've thrown in there just to make sure that we're on solid ground, I think.
And there's a reason I've uncomfortably sat forward in my chair all video, not really. As I sat down, I had my work top on. I was like, they probably don't want their logo plastered over a video talking about what we talked about earlier. So
probably not.
I mean, I think it's slipped in a couple of times, but no harm done, I'm sure.
Yeah. Xenophobic. I'll tell you what, reading the articles online, if you did watch the Panorama, I'll be honest with you, mate, I read a couple on BBC News and they made what was on Panorama look quite mild in my estimation. As I say, they're allegations, He refutes the allegations. He will fight them. He is an innocent man until proven guilty. There. Did that work?
Yeah, we ain't gonna. He's not gonna watch an hour and 36 minutes plus us talking about fucking hobnobs and rich tea biscuits, is he? And if Jaffa Cake's a biscuit or a cake, so I think we're safe now. We've put enough filler in there to say what we want.
Yeah. Anyway, right. I think we're probably going to knock it on the head there, mate. We'll do another one of these before.
Wet myself.
Yeah, don't do that. No. Don't do that. You know, you can get fancy those now.
No. I'm getting to the age where I need them. You're probably well there by now, aren't you?
Yeah, if any of you 33 that are in the chat haven't subscribed to the channel, we're at 1941 for subs right now. And we're obviously, so the next waypoint is 2000, which I know doesn't put us into the category of West Ham Fan TV or any of the big boys, but you know, whatever, every little helps. So if there's any of you 33 that are sitting there that haven't clicked the old subscribe button, I would greatly appreciate it if you could do so before you all decamp and go for your nunites, just to sort of push us up to 1942. That'd be excellent.
And next time we're on a video, we'll be talking about all of our best players being sold and no one coming in. Or to end on a positive note, go on, let's do this. End on a positive note. Only take a couple of minutes or a minute. I saw a very good rumor earlier that George Mendes has been offering Pablo round for sale. Now, if that ain't a positive news story, I don't know what is.
Yeah, but you know what's going to happen is that probably we'll sell him at a loss.
I don't care.
He'll go somewhere else. He'll go somewhere else. It will be a rip-roaring success. No, he'll go. That's what happens to West Ham players. That's what happens. They come here and they do shit. They fuck off somewhere else. We lose. We take a hit on them in all the financial bits and pieces. We don't put a sell-on clause or anything like that. They'll rip it up. They'll then get sold on to Barcelona for like 138 million, and they'll look like a fucking world beater. And we'll be sitting there going, when he was with us, he didn't look like a fucking carpet beater. Anyway,
I know what you're saying. We've seen that enough times. We saw it coming with Haller and what was the other one? Italian one, Scamacca. We knew they was decent players. They were shit with us. Went on, you know,
Mascherano.
Yeah, that couldn't get Hayden Mullins out of the team.
No, amazing.
So it does happen, but there's a reason Roberto hasn't gone on to be a world beater, and there is the exact same reason why Pablo won't go on to be a world beater, because he's got the footballing ability of a fucking donkey.
20 million? 20? Well, I heard 24. Well, I don't know, but yeah.
And apparently his old club got 8. So where'd the rest of that money go?
Just evaporated into thin air. That's depending upon what you believe. that's at least what, £12 million that has just evaporated into thin air. Maybe £16 million, depending upon what you believe. So somewhere between 12 and £16 million didn't go to the club that we bought him from. Where the fuck did that go?
In a bank account to fight a court case over some potential libel cases, maybe. Allegedly.
Oh, Adam, hello. I didn't realise you were there. You were lurking. You kept yourself quiet. An interesting last little comment there from you, mate. I won't get it up on the screen if you don't mind, just in case they're but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, mate. I wouldn't be surprised, but we shall see. We'll see how it all plays out. But anyway, Charlie, thanks for joining us, mate. And you guys in the chat, 43 of you. As I say, if there's any of you guys, I mean, I know you've already subscribed, Steve, and like I say, you can't subscribe again. Maybe you could do what that fella that turned up, who seems to have given up now, who was in his back bedroom sort of strumming off his salami whilst eating his what's hits. Maybe
if he'd subscribe, we'd be at 1,000.
Yeah.
2,000.
Yeah. He probably didn't have he probably didn't even like the stream. I mean, this is the thing that really annoys me.
Rude.
You're going to come in here and sort of like spell insults badly and spam the chat. That's one thing. But at least like and subscribe, for Christ's sakes. It's poor form.
Yeah, that also won't be the only payout Nuno gets in the next 12 months, in my opinion, Hammer. But well, I'm sure we'll do a video on that when the time comes.
There may be some material in that.
It only took 4 games last season for Forest, or 3 games was it, whatever it was. Let's hope it takes a little bit longer this year, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and who beat Nuno before he got the sack? Oh, that was us, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was
us. And then we gave him a job.
Yeah.
Couldn't make this shit up.
And then kept him when he was shit. Oh, that rings a bell. We did the same thing with Graham Potter. We kept him when he was shit as well. How did that work out 5 games into last season?
Shit.
Yeah. Bodes well, doesn't it? Look forward to doing a video with you in, well, I was going to say September, but I'm not. The amount of championship games, it might be August still when we got 5 games in this season.
Isn't it? Is it 7th of August, isn't it? The championship season starts.
No, that's Carabao Cup. Our first game is Carabao Cup. I think it's the weekend after is the championship. So it'll be the 14th or whatever. I mean, all of our games are going to be Friday nights and Monday nights and Tuesday nights, aren't they? But yeah, I think I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty certain our first game is the first round of the Carabao Cup before the season even started.
We'll probably go away to some fucking team from the arse end of nowhere and get turned over.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what. I take it that goes down to League 2, doesn't it? So I don't even know who's down there, to be honest. Like Shrewsbury,
Rochdale. Let's have a really glamorous team like Rochdale.
Rochdale at home. No, Rochdale at home. We'll sell out of the way in. That'd be quite fun. I'd enjoy that. Rochdale at home in the London Stadium.
Could you imagine that?
In the
Tuesday, Wednesday evening, start of August, when people have probably sort of pissed off to Cornwall to, enjoy themselves and whatever else. London Stadium that's got, I reckon, what do you reckon attendance-wise we'd be looking at for Rochdale?
Rochdale at home,
28,000, maybe 25.
That's optimistic.
You
first round of the Carabao Cup.
It'd be like when we played. Do you remember we played Celta Vigo in Lopetegui's season?
That was the glamour friendly, wasn't it? The one that kicked
and there was
off
about
the season with
9,000 that were at fucking London Stadium. So stupid like that. Like, mate, that's embarrassing.
There can't be 20,000 people stupid enough, and I'd count myself in that, to go to Rochdale at home on the 7th of August in the Carabao Cup first round.
Xenophobic said it could be Kidderminster Harriers. I don't think they're a league club, are they, anymore? I'm pretty sure they're non-league now, so they wouldn't be in the Carabao Cup. But I'll take your point. And Walshy reckons 10,000.
Yeah, I think Andy's closer than you are.
10,000 in a stadium that football capacity is 62,500, but in actuality is 66,000. I can never work out. I tell you what, I'm going off on a tangent. I'm sorry, it's what I do. We've had that stadium now for 10 years, right? And when we moved in, if I remember rightly, the capacity that we could use it for, although the capacity is 66,000, the capacity we could use it for was 54, 56. It then got jacked up and is now where it is. It's now 62,500. But we've, Brady was sort of making noises that she wanted to get all of the seating, this, that, and the other. It's never happened. As far as I'm aware, the safe standing has never happened unless I missed the memo. I don't think it has.
No, because they told us we had to pay for it ourselves as fans.
Nice.
They told the FAB, well, who's going to pay for that? It's going to be about 250 grand. As in trying to say, well, we can put season tickets up or we can get a funding. I don't know what they was planning, but yeah, the FAB have been speaking to Brady about it, and she said, well, who's going to pay for that? Because we're not. And then they looked into, I think the FAB looked into it independently and got quotes of about $250,000. So you think, what's that? It's not many season tickets. But yeah, no, I don't think the safe stand is there. I think you're right, we've got 62.5 at the moment, haven't we? But there's actually 67,000 seats.
Mm.
But that
I don't know why we've never got the.
Well, we've never got that.
Not that we need it now, but
no.
It'd be a bit of a waste of time now.
I think the club have been trying. I think the club will be keen because they would sell them like we always sell out. We don't get full attendances, but we sell out almost every fixture. So I think the club would be doing everything they can to get those extra seats. But I think it's been a safety certificate issue. It's not been, whether it's the London Stadium, whether it's the Met Police, I don't know who it is, but I think the safety certificate has prevented us. And I don't suppose the club are going to push too hard this season, at least, to get that extra 4,000 seats. 5,000, yeah.
Right. Well, I suppose I better go because I say I've got an early alarm clock in the morning. I dare say you need to go to the toilet, as you said. So
I definitely need to go to the toilet. Yeah.
Right. Thanks for your time, Charlie. Thanks to everybody in the chat, and
have a good night, everyone.
Until we see each other again soon. Stay safe, and we'll see you again. Come on, you irons.
West Ham are massive, everywhere we go. West Ham are massive.